As the movie begins, we see Maggie and her mother, Erica, traveling to their hometown in Ohio. After being divorced from her husband, Erica's looking for a fresh beginning with her daughter in a familiar place. Later, Maggie shows up on her first day at school, and she has no idea where her class is. When she's looking for her class, she comes across a crippled girl named Jeannie. She tells Maggie that her wheelchair is out of battery, so Maggie helps her in pushing the wheelchair. During lunch, a student named Haley approaches Maggie and invites her to a party that night. But Maggie declines her invitation, stating that she already has plans to go to a music festival with her mother. When Maggie gets home, she finds out that her mother has to fill in for a coworker, so she won't be able to attend the music festival with her. After Erica leaves, she texts Haley to accept her offer to the party. Soon after, Haley and her friends arrive in the van, and she introduces Maggie to her friends. They inform her that the party's been cancelled, but they plan to drive around and get drunk. Since they're underage and can't buy alcohol, their friend Daryl tries to get the help of strangers, but he fails miserably. Then they assign Maggie to do the work because she's new in the town and looks innocent. Moments later, a woman named Alicia arrives, and Maggie requests her help in buying alcohol, but she immediately declines. However, when a guy named Andy comes out and asks for her help, Alicia agrees to buy alcohol for them. As the group departs, Alicia notices the van, which belongs to Hawkins Security. She goes back to her work and verifies the identity of those kids on social media. She then places an anonymous call to Andy's father, Ben Hawkins, and warns him that his son Andy is hanging around with other teens and getting drunk in the rock piles. While the group is drinking and having a good time, some cops show up and confront them. The policeman informs Andy that his father sent him to punish him, but he offers them a chance to clear out and leave right away. Having no other options, the kids apologize to the police and drive home. The next day, Maggie's friends plan to get drunk again, so they seek Alicia's help once more. But this time, Alicia demands that they follow her to a different location to complete the handoff, since it's too risky to give them alcohol near her workplace. Eventually, Alicia leads them to her house and tells them to have a party in the basement. The group also believes it's best to drink there because it's safe from cops. When they get inside, Alicia tells them to obey certain rules, such as not spitting on the floor or going upstairs. A while later, a guy named Chaz approaches Alicia. He talks to her in an intimidating manner and points out some broad changes that can be done to the basement. But suddenly, she aims a gun at his head and orders him to remove his clothes. Chaz is frightened and he does as instructed, but Alicia laughs and points out that it's all a prank, since the gun doesn't even work. Following that, they all laugh and start to get drunk and have fun. Later, when Alicia sees off the group, she recalls her own high school years. Then a flashback reveals how she received an unexpected invitation to a party with the popular students. The next day, Alicia stalks Erica on social media and goes to the casino where she works. But she's surprised to see Ben and his girlfriend Mercedes there as well. It turns out that they all went to the same high school as teenagers. Mercedes approaches Erica drunkenly and tries to humiliate her, but Ben saves his girlfriend from further embarrassment. And as he takes her away from there, Alicia stares at them with her cold gaze. Later, she buys some liquor bottles and places them near Andy's van. As the kids open them, they all receive a message from Alicia inviting them to a party. This invitation appears to be sent to all teenagers at the school. That evening, several students arrive at the party and start enjoying themselves. Then we see another flashback in which young Alicia is at a party when a boy she has a crush on approaches her and begins talking to her. Back in the present, the group hears a loud banging coming from upstairs. Alicia hurries there, claiming that her ice machine may be faulty. But we see Alicia giving shots of medication to someone. On the other hand, Haley wants to go to the restroom, but the one in the basement is occupied. So, despite Alicia's warning, Haley and Maggie climb upstairs to use the restroom. While waiting for her friend, Maggie overhears Alicia scolding someone in the other room. Sensing that something's wrong, Maggie bursts into the restroom and asks Haley to leave immediately. On their way down, Alicia sees them and yells angrily at them for breaking the rule and going upstairs. Now, Maggie's in no mood for the party, so she immediately leaves the house with her friends. When Maggie wakes up the next day, Alicia sent her a bunch of apology texts. She discusses this with Haley at school, and they decide not to return there again. Later, Andy approaches Maggie nervously and asks her to be his girlfriend, which she accepts with joy. The whole group is thrilled about their new relationship and wants to celebrate this occasion. And just then, Alicia shows up at the school, apologizing for her behavior last night and invites them again for another party. But this time, the kids claim that they have lots of homework to do and refuse her invitation. A few days later, it's one of the students' birthdays, so the group is once again obligated to attend the party at Alicia's house. When Alicia sees Andy and Maggie getting close to each other, she warns Maggie to be careful with boys and gives her some dating advice as well. She then offers Maggie a drink, and immediately after that, Maggie starts to lose her vision and passes out. Maggie wakes up the next day in her own home with some injuries, and her favorite earrings are also missing. Later, when she sees Andy, he reveals that she was so drunk last night that he had to carry her home. Feeling off about the whole situation, Maggie says that she won't go back to Alicia's place ever again and asks Andy to do the same. Meanwhile, Alicia repeatedly texts Maggie and her friends, pleading with them to come to her house. Weirded out by this, Haley sends a video to the entire school asking them to block Alicia. But the weird woman does not stop there. She gets a new number and requests the group to meet her at the rock pile, claiming there's an emergency. When the kids arrive, Alicia discloses that she's been battling cancer for some time and says that the medication often causes her to act irrationally. This successfully secures their sympathies, except for Haley, who realizes that Alicia is wearing one of their friend's bracelets. She informs Maggie about this, and they both acknowledge that their jewelry has gone missing. Next, while Alicia's at work, Haley and Maggie decide to break into her home. They discover the high school photo of Alicia's former classmates Erica, Ben, and Mercedes. They also find several pieces of jewelry and photographs of all their friends, which is super weird and creepy. On the other hand, Ben arrives at Alicia's office searching for a new vet and reminisces with her about how crazy high school was for all of them. He invites her to meet him in the pub after work, which she gladly accepts. Then, in a flashback scene, we find that young Ben used Alicia's attraction towards him to lure her into the dark closet to get a little frisky with her. Back at the house, Maggie and Haley unexpectedly run into Jeannie, who surprisingly can walk well. They find out that Jeannie is Alicia's daughter, and her mother locks her up because she has a sick spine. As Alicia approaches the house, they all agree not to tell her about breaking into the house, and the girls leave the house discreetly. Later, after giving her daughter a dose of medication, Alicia leaves to meet Ben at the pub. As she waits for him, she remembers Mercedes teaching her how to blow a man's junk when they were teenagers. Soon, Ben arrives at the pub and they start talking pleasantly, until he suddenly pulls out a personal tracker. It turns out that Ben keeps a tracker in all of his vehicles, and that's how he knows his son has been hanging around at Alicia's place. Ben believes that she's seeking revenge for past wrongdoings and even threatens to hurt her if she doesn't give up. Meanwhile, Maggie informs Andy of their findings and requests that he avoid Alicia from now on. But Andy still has a soft spot for Alicia and claims that his mother showed the same behavior during her cancer diagnosis. When Maggie returns back to her home, she finds Alicia there, who's pretending to check on the dog. Erica tells Maggie that they went to high school together, while Alicia acts as if she's never met Maggie before. In the next scene, we see another flashback of a dark room emitting loud moaning noises. When the young Alicia comes out of the room, she's surprised to find all the students laughing at her. But Ben is at the front. Apparently, she made out with another guy, assuming him for Ben. Back in the present, Alicia becomes enraged remembering the past and drives where Mercedes jogs every day. And without hesitation, she slams her car into Mercedes, instantly killing her. Later that night, Maggie hears a yelp from the backyard and goes to check what's going on. She's shocked to find out that her dog has a bloody paw. When they bring him inside, Erica tries to call Alicia for help since she's a veterinary doctor. But Maggie stops her from making the call and reveals her history with the woman. Hearing the story, Erica becomes enraged with Maggie for breaking her trust and locks her in the room. In the meantime, Ben follows the tracker on his son's van and arrives at Alicia's house. He enters the house by force and threatens her, but Alicia quickly knocks him down. Slay, queen. Moments later, Ben wakes up in bed with his hands tied, and Alicia injects him with some dog medication while he screams in pain. The following night, Alicia throws another party where many students are present. Seriously, who parties this much? But anyway, Maggie receives a mocking video from Alicia that shows Andy at the party and also flaunts her favorite earrings. Maggie immediately drives there and finds all of her friends drinking and acting crazy. When she tries to explain the weird situation to her friends, Alicia puts Jeannie to bed. Hoping to find an exit, Maggie tries to run away and goes upstairs, but instead, she discovers the naked and bloody body of Ben in one of the rooms. And just then, Alicia shows up behind her and injects her, making her unconscious. The next day, Maggie wakes up in the basement, bound with a dog collar around her neck. And on top of that, all of her friends are unconscious as well. Then Alicia conducts bizarre procedures on the kids, such as putting a hot iron in Chaz's body, sewing Haley's mouth, and coloring Daryl's face with white paint. And when Andy wakes up, she rushes to hug him. Realizing the situation they're in, Andy tries to manipulate Alicia by telling her how much he loves her. But Alicia sees through his lies and ends up stabbing him. Slay, queen. Just then, a police officer arrives at her house after receiving a call from a worried parent, but Alicia assures him that she's seen no kids around her house. Meanwhile, Jeannie also arrives and confirms her mother's lies. They almost play it off, but Maggie screams from the basement, which forces Alicia to shoot the officer dead. With Jeannie's help, she drags the body inside and heads to the basement. She then gathers all of the unconscious kids and asks Maggie to take a group photo of them. When she's done, Alicia tries to strangle her, but Jeannie shows up at that moment and knocks down her mother. Meanwhile, a fire started after a few candles fall to the ground. Fortunately, Maggie and Jeannie help in freeing everyone from their ties before they breathe in too much smoke. Next, Erica arrives outside Alicia's house with a friend, and they manage to get all the kids out immediately. When Alicia finally regains consciousness, she refuses to let go of Jeannie. She calls Maggie weak and compares her to her mother, which provokes Maggie to stab her. Then they take Jeannie with them while Alicia stays home. As the movie comes to an end, Alicia goes upstairs and cuddles with Ben's dead body while the house is on fire.